I didn't actually have that many tutors. I had one for English initially, one for mathematics, but that was from even like a while back, and my ethnicity, really get into tuition a lot. And also for chemistry. So those were the tuitions that I had. Any study tips? Let's see. I do think before you start doing past papers, you need to reread everything once again. Try and memorize. This is actually a study tip. Finding a balance in every single subject. Okay, so you don't want to study, but you want to get good grades. First issue is that mentality. But let's say you want to get a good grade. Just prioritize, I guess. Prioritize as much as possible during the study leave. For me, I think I put in the most work during the study leave.
So in terms of like the transition, between MYP to DP, so grade 10 to grade 11, 12, did you see a significant impact in like your schedule, or was it similar for you?
I got impacted very heavily by COVID during my MIP years. So I'd say the scheduling, well, it definitely had a massive change because I had to start traveling to school. Yeah, I don't really have any major projects that I have in mind as of right now. I just want to relax and just do the subject, study the subject that I enjoy and just have a good life.
So in terms of, having a good life, what would you define as a good life for yourself?
I'd say a good life would be something like doing a job that I enjoy for as many years as I can, and then retire without needing to worry about finance. Right now, I think like the chance of the job of a physiotherapist being taken over by AI is very, very low because of the amounts of like hands-on and like the ability to need to like feel out a certain injury and just know exactly what the person needs as quickly as possible. I don't think AI has that capability right now. So the chance of it replacing medical related jobs is quite low. But for something like pharmaceuticals, like distributing medicine to patients, that could very well be replaced. Stuff like that could get replaced.
Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast from New Zealand here. Today we have Ollie, who's a 41 IB student, and he just graduated a couple of days ago. So Ollie, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience here?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Bosco. So, hi, my name is Oliver Poon. I just graduated high school back a couple days ago, as Bosco said, so life is pretty good right now, pretty free. I feel like I don't have that many responsibilities, even though I actually do have a lot of responsibilities, but that's beside the point. After my IB journey came to an end, I've just been trying to focus more on my hobbies. Right now, I really enjoy filling with a Rubik's Cube and playing basketball. Those are kind of like my pastimes. And a bit more about my IB journey. I took the subjects biology, chemistry, and Chinese language acquisition at the higher level. And then for standard level, I took English, mathematics, and business. So I feel like a 41 predicted for that grade is relatively decent. Definitely above the global average, which is not what I think what people should definitely strive to be higher than. But yeah.
Yeah, great. That's so great, Ollie. So before we get into, this whole academic world of, academic tips that many of the audience want, what type of person would you consider yourself to be?
I'd say I'm committed, a very committed person. If I set my mind to do something, I'll figure out a way to do it at the end of the day. Just give me some time and I'll finish it. And also I'd say I'm pretty self-motivated. I like to just find certain things in my life that I can go back to and stick to my values when it comes to trying to just do my best in everything that I do. So just, yeah, I'd say self-motivated, caring, and also I'd say I'm relatively compassionate about my academics. I try to take pride in what I do. I try my best not to slack off, even though sometimes, everyone likes to slack off every once in a while. But yeah, I do my best.
So 41 IB score. How do you personally feel about that?
Okay, I feel like I could have done better, I'm gonna be honest. For some of the subjects that I took, I understand it's quite difficult to get, like a 43 or 44, but I think I was like very close to it. For example, for chemistry, I was predicted a 6, even though I was like very, very close to a 7. And I guess I should have been putting more effort in over the summer. But summer it's not really for relaxing in grade 11 to grade 12, but I was relaxing a little bit too hard, and that kind of came back to bite me on my final IB predicted. Yeah. Other than that, I think for most of the other subjects, the predicted was quite accurate. Um, I was also missing a seven in math, English, and biology. Um, but so yeah, I only got two sevens and the plus three from the EE and the TOK. So it's not bad, but I could have done better. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So in terms of the, level of studying that you did, like how much
Mhm.
would you have like studied, and like what do you think would be needed in order to achieve this level 7 for the subjects that you mentioned?
Okay, so for specific subjects, I'll get into the details. So for example, for chemistry, right? It is one of my favorite subjects, even though I didn't get a seven in it. Oh, seven predicted in it. I don't know about my final. We'll find out in July. Oh, scary times. Um, but for chemistry, I feel like just doing a lot of past papers and reviewing the content every like month or so to make sure it's fresh in your mind. Even just like going back and rereading it is very helpful for retaining that information over time, even after uh, you've learned new content. And there's obviously six subjects, so there's a lot of new content coming in every single day. But just going back and rereading your notes, if you made notes, or just going back and reading like the teacher's slides that they make for you, that's always really helpful for retaining that really crucial information that you need to score high on tests and stuff like that. Because it never gets easier in the IB. So yeah, just having good habits when you study is very important. For other subjects, like for example, biology, biology is I think this is kind of common sense. Biology is very heavily memory based. So if you don't um, you know review every once in a while, then you're gonna have to rememorize every single piece of information after every a unit test that you do, which is just not possible. You cannot memorize like like a few weeks of content in like 3 days before each unit test. So you have to constantly keep reviewing like every week or so in order to really retain that information. But that's something that I didn't do the best because I was focused on, I'd say, more towards extracurriculars and stuff like that. I should be spending more time studying, even though biology is not my favorite subject. Um, but yeah, you just have to really get through it because it's really the most important exam of a lot of students' high school careers. And if you don't study your hardest for it, then the results will show. Um, but just do your best. Yeah. For mathematics, mathematics is really, it's kind of comes to you at birth, but also it really comes down to how much you practice like mental math and stuff like that, and how much of a math person you really are. I think I'm a quite logical person, and I like problem solving. So chemistry and math are two subjects that I really enjoy. Um, for some reason, I just can't get a seven though. um, yeah, so math, just doing the practice, doing the homework. Make sure you're listening in class as well, because a lot of the concepts in the IB are a lot more difficult than what you'd be taught in for example, GCSE or MYP. So I'd say in order to score high in math, you might try to do a summer course between grade 10 and grade 11 in order to really get like a fundamental grasp around those like more difficult concepts like calculus or like deeper trigonometry, and trying to just really wrap your head around all of them first before you jump straight into the deep water when it comes to the IB. And finally, for English, it's all about practice once again. I feel like every single subject is about practice, but especially English. You need to be practicing your paper ones and paper twos, and just doing essay writing. I mean, it's like a cumulative assignment. Each essay you write is an improvement on the last one, because you're getting feedback from your teacher, you're getting experience in the writing. So I think at the end of the day, just doing as much essay practice writing as possible, especially with the introduction, your conclusion, following the structures that you're taught. Um, yeah, all of those will accumulate, and you'll write as good of an essay as you can in the final essay for the IB. Yeah, then you can get a 7. Just do your best, you know. Everything, just put it all into it.
Mhm. Yeah, I heard very similar words on biology and chemistry from like, the previous podcast guests, talking about how bio is
Yeah,
all about memorization, chemistry is also
yeah.
about like past papers. So did you actually have any specific study tips? Because to be honest, like getting like a 40 something is already a pretty ideal grade for many people, even though many people are aiming for, 45 perfect, but I would consider,
Of course. Yeah.
40 something to be a pretty solid grade. So was there any specific study strategies that you used or like some kind of softwares, or did you have like tuition centers to help you, or like, yeah.
Okay, so over the 2 years, for tuition wise, I didn't actually have that many tutors. I had one for English initially, um, one for mathematics, but that was from even like a while back, and you know, people of my ethnicity, really get into tuition a lot, and also for chemistry. But yeah, I'd say for mathematics, it was just a carryover from like the previous years, and then English was in order to learn how to write the essays for the IB, and chemistry was just in order for me to, because chemistry I'd say is one of the hardest subjects in terms of like concepts and stuff like that. So those were the tuitions that I had. They were actually not that often. I'd say yeah, once a week, um, up until the IB exam period of study leave, then maybe more than once a week, maybe twice a week. But yeah, I didn't really have that like vigorous tuition. Uh, I don't think it's necessary as long as you study yourself. Because yeah, any study tips? Let's see. I do think before you start doing past papers, you need to just reread everything once again. Try and memorize, because I think with the IB, the whole thing is just like a 2 year long like study period basically. Because I'd say I don't want to make sound pessimistic, but nothing you do really matters. Is what I'm trying to say. Nothing you do matters up till your final IB exam, but everything you do also matters. It's like a bit of a paradox. Nothing you do really matters, but everything you do matters because everything leads up to the final IB exam. You cannot slack off during the year, so you need to just find a balance. I'd say find a balance. This is actually a study tip. Finding a balance in every single subject, because normally what people like to do is they like to prioritize subjects that they enjoy doing. Like, and for me, I like doing chemistry and math. So I find myself doing a lot of chemistry and math past papers, and perhaps not doing as many Chinese or English past papers as I could have. But if you don't do that, then the subjects that you're strong at or weak at, you might get a 7 in that. But the subjects that you're strong at, you don't practice, um, or you don't enjoy, then you won't get a 7 in it because you didn't put in the practice that you needed for the final IB exam. So this is actually quite a common theme in a lot of people, is that they study really hard for the subjects that they don't like because they think they're not going to get 7s, and then they don't study as much for subjects that they think are easier or they enjoy because they think they're going to get 7s. But at the end of the day, if you don't study enough for a certain subject, you're not going to get a 7, which is what everyone wants. So just finding a balance between all the 6 subjects, and just finding, making a really rigorous schedule. That's what I did. I made a very rigorous schedule on allocating, a certain number of hours towards each subject in the couple of weeks before the IB exams, and definitely drilling past papers. In order to get the past papers, I think a lot of tuition centers should have resources for you, but I'm going to share a little insider secret. There's this website called um, IB Docs where it has a lot of past papers. I think we're going to upload it to
The value
my
doc.
value doc. Yeah, so you can find it there. It has past papers for every single year. Um, I think the past papers for this year are going to be uploaded relatively soon. But yeah, there's like 20 22, 23 years worth of past papers for all the time zones 1, time zone 2, and time zone 3. So the November ones as well. Um, and yeah, so make sure you're using that as much as you can, and just, yeah, study hard, and the results will show.
Mhm. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, for people who don't really want to study a lot, or like people who just want to, pass through the IB but still get a solid grade, do you think that is a possibility? Is there any like cheat codes for
Hmm.
that?
Okay, so you don't want to study, but you want to get good grades. The first issue is that mentality. But okay, um, let's say you want to get a good grade, but I don't know what extent slacking off means. Um, but let's say your predictor wasn't the best, but yet you still want to get good grades. Just, you know, prioritize. I guess prioritize as much as possible during the study leave, because for me, I think I put in the most work during the study leave, before the IB exam. So that period is very, very crucial for someone, who wants to, score well on the final grade, but maybe not get the best predicted. So there's not a lot of time left that you get before, for study leave. But like, just try and find as much motivation as possible, or as much discipline as possible during that period, because that period will definitely determine what you get on your final IB grade. So if you just, I mean, it's like 5 weeks, like, maximum, to really, lock in and focus up. So just focus up for 5 weeks, and you can slack off for the rest of the IB, and I think you should be still be okay to get a solid grade. Yeah.
Mhm. I guess like at the end, it depends on like where you want to be going, because for some
Yes.
US
Yes.
universities,
Yes.
if you apply like ED, then the predicted grade will matter a lot, and the final grade won't matter too much if you
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. Yeah. It depends. If you want to go to the US, then you should definitely focus up a lot more in grade 11, and then grade 12 you can just do whatever. I guess. For me, okay. You asked the questions. I'll do the talking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about like business. So you said business was basically a free
Okay.
seven.
Okay.
So
Business.
could you, yeah, talk about
Yes.
you know
Yes. Okay. So, business management, right? I think just inherently, as a course, it's not that difficult. Like, the concepts are very much, common sensey in a way, where, like, the stuff they're taught, you can really just kind of come up with it in your own head. That's kind of the nature of the subject. That's why it's not that difficult, in my opinion. The most difficult thing about it would definitely be, the essay writing aspect, where you have to follow, a certain structure. For the 10 marker, it's called a 10 marker, where you have to, um, write like a 6 paragraph essay in about, 35 minutes, depending on your time management during the exam. That takes quite a lot of practice, but hopefully, with your unit assessments, the teacher will give you adequate practice for that. Another difficult part about business is the finance part, but if you're like a math person, then that should be really just a walk in the park for you. Um, and for me, because I liked math, business was not that difficult. Also, I'm decent at essay writing, so, just following a formula, um, and running those essays wasn't that difficult. And the reason why I'd say it's a free seven is because once you get a certain amount of practice, like, the answers to the questions just become, like, they just become common sense, because the content is like common sense. The answers just become like common sense. So it's just finding, like, the just applying the right, like, logic to answering, certain questions. Like, for example, they might ask you, oh, one advantage and one disadvantage of blah 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 company starting a blah 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 project, right? For their profitability. So if you're talking about profitability, you're going to talk about, like, how they can, generate more assets or decrease their losses. So it's very logical. And I'd say other humanities subjects, for example, economics would also be quite logical. I'm not sure what the other podcast people said talked about, but from what I've heard from my peers, people say economics is also very logical and just like a common sensey type of subject. So I'd say business or economics are both good choices if you're trying to take a humanities that you can score high on. Yeah, but for me personally, I recommend business definitely. Business SL for people.
Hmm. Yeah. So in terms of like some subjects that you regret taking, are there any particular ones?
Regret taking. Okay, this doesn't apply to everyone, but for me specifically, taking biology HL was one of the worst decisions of my life, of my IB journey, because first of all, I'm trying to get into physiotherapy at the University of Southampton. And well, before I really wanted to focus on physiotherapy, I was trying to do medicine. So I needed to take biology and chemistry both at a higher level in order to do that. But I think I should have given more thought into what I wanted to focus on before I, you know, chose all my stuff. And I know that's difficult for a lot of people, trying to figure out what you want to do at such a young age. But just trying to get a general idea of a future career that you could embark on. Obviously, you don't have to have it set in stone. You can still make changes to it, but just trying to get a general idea, yeah, of what subject you want to specialize in the future before you take a certain subject. So I didn't need to take biology HL for sports for physiotherapy. I could have taken sports science, which I think would be more specific to my subject. Um, so yeah, that's just one of the regrets. For the other subjects, no, I think just biology. The other ones were okay. Yeah,
Hmm. So in terms of like the transition, between MYP to DP, so grade 10 to grade 11, 12, did you
yeah.
see a significant impact in like your schedule, or was it similar for you?
Okay, so it's quite difficult for me to assess this because I I got impacted very heavily by COVID during my MIP years. So I'd say the scheduling, well, it definitely had a massive change because I had to start traveling to school. Whoa, I have to go to school now. Um, but I think the MYP is a bit of a joke, in my personal opinion. Like it didn't really prepare a lot of my peers and me well for the IB. They actually, I'm quite lucky because I came from a local school before I transferred to CDNAS, so I had that like level of academic, studying and rigor like already in my system, like exposure and exposure to it before I went to CDNIS. And I'd say the MYP was a lot less like intense compared to the local school system, because we even had like final. We had 3 terms and 3 final exams for each subject. So during the year, each semester has 1 final exam. So I had that exposure. If you're not as lucky as me to come from a local school, then I think yeah, the schedule is going to take a big hit, but uh, people can quickly adapt to it. That's just how it is. It's like a shock to the system, but you really quickly adapt to it, which is good for. It's good news. Yeah, it doesn't really affect you that badly as long as you're able to adapt to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also heard that, many people are very worried that the grade 11 summer is basically not a summer. So
Oh
what
yeah,
was
yeah.
your overall experience with that? And you said that like, how like you were taking, more of a relaxation approach for grade 11. Did that really like heavily like impact, your final IB grade? Or if you were to like, travel back, would you have took it in a different approach?
Okay, yeah. So that's a very good question, actually. I think the grade 11 summer, you shouldn't be too worried that it's not a summer. It is still a summer. You still have less responsibilities, but it's kind of like a lingering feeling in the back of your mind where, you feel like you should be studying, but it's a deserved break after finishing grade 11, year 1 of IB. Um, I think just not taking it too chill. You still need to put some work in. For example, your IAs, you need to get started on those for sure. That's something that I didn't do and ended up biting me in the ass. Um, so just working on your IAs and definitely your extended essay. Your extended essay is the only thing. If you're due to do nothing the entire summer but something, you should do your extended essay. That is just the most crucial aspect that you must put work into over the summer. If you don't, then you're going to be in a whole lot of hell in grade 12 because all of that will come at you like 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 jabs and crosses from a heavyweight boxer. Yeah. Um, it is still summer. Just don't take it too relaxed. Just, yeah, you have to do some work, you know. It's not like you're free from the IB. You're only free from the IB after you finish your final exam.
Hey guys, just a quick second before we get back into the pod. If you guys didn't know, there is a Valley Doc link in the description, which is prepared by myself and the guest, which will contain all of the resources and tips mentioned in the podcast. It's 100% free. We have spent hours on this, so we would appreciate if you could just check it out. All right, guys, back to the pod.
You know, the final exam. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, you actually make a very good point there. Um, like, I guess I want to go into like a bit more specific because I guess many people always have this, ideology that you have to study a lot to get a high grade. So, if you were to
Mm-hmm.
get like a specific boundary as to how many hours you have to put to get a seven for the subjects that you take, like, what would be the approximate estimate going through all of the subjects? Let's just say, I guess
Let's
like
say
studying
daily or
we
monthly
can do
or
like
what's the time frame?
we can do like weekly.
Weekly? Weekly. Okay. So, hmm, I'll just go through the two subjects that I got a seven in. So for business, I'd say I didn't spend too many hours after I got like a really good grasp of how to answer the questions and stuff. So I'd say weekly. Um, I was doing the note taking and the homework. Overall, about I'd say about 2 hours per day, so about 14 hours weekly for business management. And for Chinese, I want to say I was really fortunate to be from a local school because Chinese isn't that difficult to me. So I'd say I just did my daily activities and I still got a seven because my life has some Chinese in it, and that's all I really needed in order to get that seven. Um, if you want to get seven in other subjects, though, like for example, bio and chem, let's say bio and chem, very common sciencey subjects. For chemistry, you need to be doing, you know, definitely more than humanities for studying wise. Um, Perhaps another hour. So I'd say 21 hours per week. So about 3 hours a day, including class time and stuff like that. If it's just studying, then I'd say about an hour and a half. Um, an hour and a half, averaging per day would be a good amount in order to really secure that seven. Um, as for example, biology, I'd say about the same, but it can get quite tiring if you have to memorize everything. Just yeah, make sure you're taking breaks and just spend about an hour and a half a day on those two subjects.
Mhm. Yeah, so I was actually doing some calculations, while you were
Mm-hmm.
speaking about different subjects. So after just
Yeah.
listening about the business and the biology, and also subtracting the time that we have to rest, let's just say for example 8 hours, we only have
Yeah.
about 81 hours left for, and you still have four subjects to be studying for. How would you go with balancing extracurriculars and basically your social life if yeah
Okay.
if you don't really have much time left?
I think I might have been over exaggerating, not over exaggerating, but overestimating the amount of hours of studying. I'd say maybe not an hour and a half a day. That actually sounds quite intense. Um, just an hour of focus, which should be enough. In terms of balancing extracurriculars, I'm like quite a sporty person, so I did like badminton, basketball, track and field, um, and also I did those. and also extracurriculars such as volunteering, stuff like that. Um, I'd say it kind of just falls in place, to be honest. Like you don't really need to make a specific schedule for yourself. For me, I didn't do that, and I'd say it all mostly worked out. Like as long as you know what your priorities are and you prioritize just doing things that really do matter, but you really need to do stuff that really does matter. Don't play sports every day because you like doing sports. You need to be studying. You um cannot slack off and just play sports. That's not, unless your future career is in sports. But if it's not, then you need to be, just everything in moderation is the key. Just balance. That's why the IB has given you 6 subjects. It's a balance of subjects that you need to balance in your schedule, and balance your studying. Everything is just about balance. If you find that balance, then life will be great. It'll still be stressful, but it will be a whole lot easier if you learn to prioritize what you need to do. Like if you have, okay, let's say for example, if you have a test coming up that week, you're not gonna be playing sports the night before, right? You're gonna be studying for that subject the night before, and you don't have to study for biology and chemistry if you have a business test the night before. You know, like you can take days off of certain subjects. You don't have to, put your head down and study like every single day. You can take breaks. You can go play your sports. Um, yeah, even right before the exam period, for U20 badminton, in grade 11, I was going to practices like twice a week and even going to games, in March and April, uh, right before the exams, which I think Bosky have tomorrow. Good luck. Um, yeah, just you can take breaks. Just it's about finding a balance, and everything in moderation is the way to go. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so talking about like extracurriculars, you also told me that you started a Rubik's Cube club in school and you were able to solve a Rubik's Cube in 7 seconds, which is actually very impressive and something I would believe that I would never be able to do in my lifetime. But yeah, like what was
Okay.
the,
Okay.
overall, I guess, like story, and like how do you find this passion? Do you want to take this to like the next level in the future?
Right. So for me, I started playing with Rubik's Cube in the summer of 2022. So right before grade 11, and I really enjoyed it. So it was something that I would just do like every single day, if I had any free time. I'd just be practicing and learning new techniques. And once it got to about September, I had about 4 months of practice under my belt, so I could solve in about, let's say, under around 30 seconds. But I've just been like constantly practicing over the 2 years of IB, while I also started my club. So that's an extracurricular that I think is great for anyone. Just it keeps your mind sharp, and it's a good way to make friends as well, because it's a cool puzzle to solve. And I found it. I liked it so much that I even started a club for it. That was actually my CAS project, the Rubik's Cube Club. Uh, and I basically just held club meetings once a week or so. And I had this club program called the Rubik's Cube Club Program. Oh, so original. All right, all right. Where people would send in their videos of them solving the Rubik's Cube, every 2 weeks, and I would give them like a critique. I did this alongside my friend Russell. I think he's been on the pod in the past, and yeah, it was a pretty good class project in my opinion, because it was something that I enjoyed, and also it would involve teaching, which I also like. Also enjoyed, and also it's just it's a nice activity to do with your friends. It's like a puzzle that you can all solve together, and everyone's at different levels. So yeah, I think it's one of my favorite extracurriculars that I've done. In terms of like getting better at the Rubik's Cube itself, I'd say just practicing. If you do solve, just practice every day for 15 minutes. Just solve as much as possible, and yeah, you'll get better. Because I went from 30 seconds to about 7 seconds in, that's it, like 1.5 years, 2 years ish. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think practicing every single day and just showing how like every single day we put in 1% of effort and it actually accumulates at the end. It's not only for Rubik's Cube,
Mhm.
but it shows that, it's for like
It's
every
for, yeah,
single thing that you do
it's
and
for
that
everything.
compounds at the end. So you're actually going to
Mhm.
university at 17 rather than 18. Would it be possible if you like briefly share like was it because of like the local school transition, like the years, or like is there a specific story for that? Or do you like skip a year?
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm born in October, right? So October is like quite a difficult kind of period to be born in because you're really young for your year, but quite old for the year below. So for being born in '06, right now is the right time to be graduating. But actually, I skipped the cutoff from which is in August to be in grade 12 this year, or graduating this year, because well, really the reason for it is because my parents didn't want to pay another year. That's really it. That's the whole story. Because also I wasn't like lacking in academics or anything, so it's not like I was struggling really badly. So I mean, I had the ability and the opportunity was there. Also, it's kind of something to brag about. Like, oh, I'm going to uni at 17. Oh, you're still in grade 11. Oh, something like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I think many people would think that you're like some kind of genie kid. Like if you
No, no.
even want or
No, it's just my parents didn't want to pay an extra year, and I was good enough to be in the year above. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
got it,
it's not
got it.
that it's not that rare though. A lot of people like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so now let's like kind of like transition out of the whole IBDP thing, talk more about, your
Right.
future university and like, careers and stuff. So you mentioned how you want
Okay.
to do physiotherapy at the U of Southampton, and I actually did some research, and it's actually ranked second in in UK and also top 100 in the world, which is actually pretty good. And I actually didn't know that before. So, what was actually your overall, thought process of going to this particular university and choosing this major?
Okay. So first let's talk about the major. So for physiotherapy, I think I just really enjoy it as a subject because I've always liked doing sports and in being involved in like the sporting world. As a kid, I did track and field, and now I play basketball a lot. So I think just enjoying sports and wanting to also because of what I said before, I say I'm a caring person. So I wanted to help others get better and like recover and rehabilitate while also being involved in like this like sort of a little bit of the sporting world. Even though I know that a lot of physiotherapy isn't just about sports, it's about providing the best care possible for all age groups. Whether it's geriatric, pediatric, and the dream would definitely be to work with athletes. That's a lot of physiotherapists' dream, but it's not everyone's. Um, it's not attainable for everyone. Um, yeah, that's the reason I wanted to get into physiotherapy. As for the university, I'd say uh, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I looked at the rankings and I looked at the number of years of study. I could have gone to Australia, but that takes 4 years. And after talking to like the physiotherapists at some of my internships and physios that I have in my life, I get injured as well. Um, they said that even after you graduate with your bachelor's degree, you still know nothing, is what they said. So that's very reassuring, of course. But yeah, if I'm really thinking about it, Australia is 4 years, the UK is 3 years to get your degree. And at the end of the day, if you know nothing even after you get your degree, why would you do 4 years when you can do 3 years? That was the thought process behind that. And also in the UK, I have some more connections because my father he's a British citizen, and therefore I have a British passport, so it's easier to, you know, visas and whatnot. So yeah, more connections in the UK, and also it's a good university because I went to visit the campus in 2022 summer. Yeah, so I like the campus, and so I The ranking was good. I chose it.
Got it. Got it. Very interesting. So, if I do some calculations, you're 17, and then you're gonna do like 4 years of your bachelor, so you're gonna be about
3 years for the UK. 3 years for the
23.
UK.
You're gonna be about 20. So, what would you say if you plan this out? Like, what would you say is your overall, time frame with being like a physiotherapist, or do you also see yourself doing something else in the future, like working on some kind of other project or some kind of other passion of yours?
Hmm. Okay. Future passions. I'd say I want to be playing basketball. That's for sure. It's one of my favorite hobbies. In terms of the time frame, I'm not thinking that far ahead. First, I need to get into university. That's the first step. Getting the final IB grade. Even though I'd say my offer was relatively easy, 34. So hopefully I don't mess it up somehow. Um, yeah. Uh, First step is getting to uni, and after that, I think I'll perhaps work in a hospital, as like a uh, as actually I think I'll be able to get a job, right? Huh, that's very interesting. At 20 years old, wow, that's something to think about. Yeah, I'd say I'd work in a hospital as my first job as a physiotherapist. Get more exposure to a variety of patients first, and after I do that, I think I'll do my master's for 1 year, um, which should allow me to specialize in a certain field. For example, like neurophysiotherapy or musculoskeletal physiotherapy, something like that. So I'd be able to specialize, and then the end goal is to start my own clinic somewhere in the world. Um, yeah, that's the end goal. In terms of other stuff, other projects, nothing is really on my mind right now. That's it. As big and daunting as perhaps this podcast is. Very cool podcast, by the way. Glad to be here. Um, yeah, I don't really have any major projects that I have in mind as of right now. I just want to relax and just do the subject, study the subject that I enjoy, and just have a good life. That's the goal. Have a good life. Enjoy life, because you only get one.
Mhm. So, in terms of having a good life, what would you define as a good life for yourself?
A good life. Okay. Hmm. These are very philosophical questions. I'd say a good life would be something like doing a job that I enjoy for as many years as I can, and then retiring without needing to worry about um retire without needing to worry about finance. That that would that would just that would be ideal. Just because I recently watched a YouTube video, and as a person, you have very, very finite years left, even though you may be young right now. And a majority of that is going to be work. So if you do not find work that you enjoy, then the majority of your life is going to be wasted. So yeah, just the ideal, like a good life would be doing work that you truly enjoy and you can be happy to go back to. Because if you're not happy at your job, then your productivity goes down, your efficiency goes down, your motivation is down, and just life is not good when you're in a job that you don't like. But that's a rabbit hole that a lot of people are stuck in, just doing jobs that they don't enjoy. So just really, it starts now. It starts now. Finding what you want to do in the future and sticking to it, because at the end of the day, you will find fulfillment in your success. So it's something that you enjoy. Yeah, that would be a good life.
Wise words. Wise words here, guys. So, like, in terms of talking about all of this like purpose and stuff, do you have a specific purpose for your life, or do you believe that you don't really have a purpose right now, or like? Have you thought about that
Okay,
before?
well, my purpose is to help as many people as possible with their physio-related injuries. That would be my purpose in life. Um, Other than that, there's many other purposes. My previous purpose was to be a good student. Now it's to be a good physio and perhaps, I don't know, a good husband in the future. Not thinking that far ahead though. Um, yeah, purpose is to just help as many people as possible with what I can, as to the best of my ability. That would be my purpose in life.
Hmm. Very interesting. So I guess we could jump back and like talk about a bit of your volunteering. Your
Okay, okay,
yeah. So like in
okay.
terms
So,
of
I'll just start. So for the biggest volunteering kind of experience that I've had was related to a hospital internship with the hospital authority in Hong Kong. So they have this program which is called like summer volunteering program at certain hospitals. Mine was at the Prince of Wales Hospital in Shatin or City One. For that, it was like 4 weeks of going there every day. It's more of like a full time job kind of thing where you go in at you check in at 9 and then you end at 4:30. And um, a lot of it is you get exposure to what it means to work in the medical fields. So for me, I was very fortunate to be allocated to the physiotherapy departments, um, where I got to see the ins and outs of being a physiotherapist and how you can help others. I even got to shadow physiotherapists in this. So I think signing up for this program was one of the best things I could have done because it was also a major part of my personal statements. And also, it just allowed me to, really confirm that this is the subject that I want to do in the future. Other than this hospital internship, I've also been doing stuff like bread runs. Bread runs are a great way to do indirect service. You can also participate in stuff like Food Angel. Food Angel is like a they help elderly, like underprivileged families in Hong Kong, with instant name food. Uh, I also been active at school. I did grade three reading club where you read to grade three students, and also Orbis, which is uh, you're spreading awareness of eye, like um, eye. I don't know how to say eye issues, perhaps. Just spreading awareness with that. Yeah, so that's like the extent of my volunteering. I've also pretty good, pretty good. I look back at it, quite extensive.
mhm,
Not bad, not
yeah,
bad. To say so myself.
yeah. So like I guess like in terms of like the last questions that I have for you is
Hmm.
I guess considering that you're going to be going to like a medical professional, what are your thoughts and like how do you feel like AI and this evolving technology would play a role
Mm.
in your profession and your future, or will they actually
Okay.
like not even play a role? Like, what are your thoughts?
So for medical related careers, because of the level of like interpersonal skills you need to talk to patients that AI just is not at the level of right now. I think um, like the chance of the job of a physiotherapist being taken over by AI is very low because of the amounts of like hands on and like the ability to need to like feel out a certain injury and just know exactly what the person needs as quickly as possible. I don't think AI has that capability right now. Um, so the chance of it replacing medical related jobs is quite low, especially like doctors or surgeons and physiotherapists. But for something like pharmaceuticals, like distributing medicine to patients, that could very well be replaced because all you need is a robot arm and a bunch of shelves, and the robot knows exactly where their medicine is and how much to give, so they can just collect it and dish it out, stuff like that. So stuff like that could get replaced, but like the prognosis and diagnosis stuff that doctors and physios and surgeons, like doctors and physios, have to do, that likely not be replaced. So if you're getting into the medical field, you likely won't be replaced by AI. But if you're getting into, let's say, something more related to like labor, then it will likely be replaced. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I really like your approach there, like talking about how, I guess, like it wouldn't replace directly because you still need the knowledge. Because if you don't know how to use the AI, you don't know what's going on. So, for example, if I guess you're doing heart surgery and the AI is doing heart surgery, like you still need someone to monitor the AI just in case something goes wrong, because machines can make mistakes, even though many people think that it's like perfect 100%. That is
No, that's not
really
true. That's not true. No.
Mhm. So I guess I like to end it like this, where I ask, I guess, the guest, what is one of the biggest tip that you have for everyone watching or for your previous self?
Okay. I've already echoed this throughout throughout this episode, but just live by this quote. If you have a quote to live by this quote. Everything in moderation. That's it. That's the whole ordeal. Just everything in moderation. That's how you should live. Because if you don't have balance, then you're not living a good life.
Great quote for sure. I'll keep this one in mind. So
Keep it in the
yeah,
quote book.
yes sir. So this is Ollie, guys. Very appreciate that you hop on the. I can't even mumble words at this point, but really appreciate you for hopping onto the podcast. If you guys really want to reach out to him, there is a Discord community which he'll be also part of, and with many of our previous podcasts, we're trying to create a network here, so then we're able to help the next generation, Gen Z or Gen Alpha, people who are coming up with solving as many pain points that they have as possible. And yeah, hope Ollie, you actually enjoyed the podcast for real. And yeah,
Yeah, I
catch you
did. I
guys.
did. Yeah.
Catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Let's do this, bro. Stopping.